Alright, hello everyone and welcome to NFL Discussion. I'm your host and NFL enthusiast, Doug. In today's episode, I'm going to be discussing Monday Night Football Week 3 of the 2023 edition. And this was another week featuring another doubleheader. First up was the Eagles versus the Buccaneers, followed by the Rams versus Bengals. And well, unfortunately, these games, they weren't the prettiest, and pretty much one team in both games kind of just pulled away and left the other team playing catch up, which the other team was not able to do. And with that, we'll go ahead and get right into the action. Starting with the Philadelphia Eagles, who are still undefeated but still have room for improvement, and give credit to that defense. They got after Baker Mayfield from start to finish. So Jalen Hurts completed 23 of 37 passes for 277 yards, 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions, also adding 10 carries for 28 yards and an additional touchdown. And per usual, his rushing score came on a tush-push play. The Bucs did a good job containing Hurts on the perimeter, forcing him to take short gains on the ground or get rid of the football after extending plays. Though this allowed him to get off 37 pass attempts, it also resulted in a pair of interceptions. A pair of shaky throws aside, Hurts got the job done at the goal line and through the air. A.J. Brown caught 9 of 14 targets for 131 yards, and there was an argument between Hurts and Brown on the sidelines week 2. That was Brown being frustrated with his usage. He got 4 balls for 29 yards, and that's also a non-story. Even Jalen Hurts downplayed it after the game, but it is hard to ignore that Brown got 14 targets in this game. Coincidence or not, it's a strong return to form for the Eagles wide receiver 1. Brown did damage downfield and after the catch throughout the night, and the Eagles, after appearing at the Super Bowl last year, they're operating at that Super Bowl standard, and they're talented enough to win even when the team doesn't play its best. And the next step is finding the rhythm and getting on a roll to set up another deep postseason run. And it starts with the Eagles defense getting after quarterback the way that they did, and then your passing game just kind of taken off. A.J. Brown had himself a game, but Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert were pretty quiet. DeAndre Swift, though, at running back, had himself another great performance. So I think that could be a good part of helping getting this offense going to that next year is through the running game with DeAndre Swift. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Running game continues to be a problem, and were they exposed as pretenders? So Baker Mayfield completed 15 of 25 passes for 146 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. So Mayfield and Bucs entered the week 2-0 on the back of wins over Minnesota and Chicago. Both of those teams are still winless coming out of week 3. So it is fair to question how real Tampa Bay's flawless record was. So what better way to test it than up against the reigning NFC champions? And while Mayfield got exposed against the best defense he has seen this year, Mayfield threw his first interception of the season and took 2 sacks after taking just 1 in his first 2 games as a Buc. He made a valiant effort to keep his team alive with a touchdown scoring drive in the 4th quarter, but it was too little too late, and he never saw the ball again. Mike Evans caught 5 of 10 targets for 60 yards and a touchdown, and Evans has now scored in all 3 of his appearances this season, and that shouldn't come as a surprise given how much Baker Mayfield favors him in the red zone, targeting him on 3 of 6 pass attempts in that red zone with 2 targets from the 1-yard line. The second goal line target resulted in Evans' touchdown, and even though the Bucs passing game at the moment isn't particularly strong, it revolves around Mike Evans. So obviously a 2-1 start remains a good spot to be in a week-by-week league, but it's difficult to envision this Buccaneers team overcoming the likes of the 49ers, the Cowboys, or even the Lions after what the Eagles did to this team. And I think ultimately, I wouldn't quite rule them out. I wouldn't quite say the Buccaneers are pretenders just yet, but that running game is certainly an issue right there. I mean, you had 2 guys who basically did next to nothing in the running game, and that's just not a recipe for success right there. So you got to figure that one out. And then maybe get Chris Godwin going a little bit more. He didn't have a particular standout game. So on to the next game, starting with the Rams. That offensive line is a problem, and it could derail the season, which is certainly not a new issue for the Rams, and Cooper Kupp's absence continues to be felt. So Matthew Stafford completed 18 of 33 passes for 269 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions. The offensive line did Stafford no favors in this one, as he was under constant pressure from the jump, taking 6 sacks and throwing 2 interceptions. Cincinnati came into this game with a game plan to erase electric rookie Puka Nacua and operate with stunt blitzes up front, a plan from defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo that held the Rams to just one third down conversion all game. That third down conversion would be a touchdown to bring the score within 3 points, but ultimately, because of how bad the current onside kick is, the Rams were unsuccessful in corralling that attempt. Stafford goes into week 4 desperate for his primary playmaker back from injury, but will have to try to survive one more week at a minimum without Cooper Kupp. Kieran Williams rushed 10 times for 38 yards, adding 27 yards on 2 receptions. So opposing defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo had Sean McVay's number in this one, holding the Rams to just one third down conversion of the evening, which led to a reduced workload for Williams as he was forced into the Rams were forced into catch-up mode for most of the night. Williams saw a hefty 7 targets, but dropped 1 and was subject to off-target throws. He saw 100% of the team's available running back opportunities for the second straight week, meaning that better days are likely ahead for the second year back. So, a couple of key injuries on the offensive line for the Rams: Joe Noteboom and Alaric Jackson. If those guys are forced to miss any time, the Rams don't have an immediate answer to handle Stafford's blindside, as quality free agent options are seemingly non-existent. A major concern also rises for Los Angeles, since they don't. Another major concern for Los Angeles is that they don't have the same flexibility along their offensive line as other teams do. So the Rams need either Noteboom or Jackson to be ready next week. Otherwise, the entire offense and season could be derailed. Even when Cooper Kupp returns, which could be week 5. I haven't heard definitively that it is going to be week 5, but that's when he would first be eligible to return. Cincinnati Bengals. So give credit to Joe Burrow. He gets the job done despite being limited, but running the ball is still important and it would help Burrow while he's still limited. Another thing to point out is that even though Joe Burrow is limited, they still found a way to win, and part of that is, again, to the running game. Joe Mixon had a pretty decent game, and also the defense. They came to play. Joe Burrow completed 26 of 49 passes for 259 yards and 1 interception. So Burrow's limited mobility showed throughout this game, but he managed to gut out that calf strain to lead his team to their first victory of the season. He keyed in on alpha wide receiver Jamar Chase, feeding him 15 looks in the primarily short area attack. The inefficiency and low yards per attempt were largely to be expected, considering his inability to extend plays. Burrow was also hurt by numerous drops of T. Higgins, which could have padded his stats on the night. Jamar Chase caught 12 of 15 targets for 141 yards, and the Bengals started the game by peppering Chase on the opening drive, and Burrow continued to look his way for easy completions. Now, Chase was largely confined to short area work on a night where Burrow's mobility was affected by that calf strain, but head coach Zach Taylor was able to move him around the formation enough to get him one-on-one coverage for most of the evening. So, despite the limitations of Joe Burrow, the Bengals found a way to claim victory, and again, the defense came to play, and they got after the quarterback. The offense finally established a rhythm in the second half. To put it more plainly, the Bengals looked like the Bengals again. Joe Mixon registered a 14-yard touchdown. Jamar Chase got more involved, and more importantly, Burrow looked a little bit more comfortable. He's not 100%, but this was a good win for the Bengals to get him back on track. And with that, will conclude this episode of NFL Discussion. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit that like button down below.